and welcome back to In Business Talks 2 Networking Nuggets, the podcast where we unlock the secrets to building powerful professional connections. I'm Ian.
And I'm Tracey, and together we've been running dynamic and engaging events for almost 7 years, witnessing firsthand the incredible collaborations and lasting relationships that form when people come together. Whether online or face-to-face, our relaxed and informal networking events in Leeds, York, Harrogate, Wakefield and Wetherby are designed to create a no-pressure environment where meaningful connections can flourish.
In this episode, we'll share some of the most valuable insights we've gathered from our years of hosting these events. From unexpected partnerships to lifelong friendships, we've seen it all and can't wait to help you unlock the potential of your professional network. So, grab a cuppa, settle in, and join us as we dive into another nugget of networking wisdom.
We're thrilled to have you with us on this journey, whether you're a seasoned networker or just starting out. We promise you'll find something valuable in today's discussion. Let's get started and discover the magic that happens when business folk connect.
So, in today's episode, we're diving into the critical step that often makes or breaks a networking experience: following up after the event. Whether you met a handful of new contacts or a room full, we've got the tips you need to turn those connections into lasting relationships. So, let's get started.
Yeah, Ian, we've talked a lot in the initial steps about business networking, like how to make a good impression and how to find networking events. But today, we really want to dive into something that often gets overlooked, and that's the following up. Because let's face it, you just collecting business cards isn't going to get you very far, right?
That's too true, Tracey. The follow-up is where the real magic happens. It's where you take those initial connections and start turning them into meaningful relationships. And that can lead to all sorts of opportunities, whether it's new business, partnerships, or just learning from someone else's experience. And if you don't follow up, you have completely wasted your time networking in the first place.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, if you've totally wasted your time. So there isn't any point in going, is there? Now, I think a lot of people do get a bit nervous about following up, though, don't they? Because they don't want to come across as pushy or annoying.
Yeah, true.
But it doesn't have to feel like that. I know, in fact, a well-crafted follow-up can show that you're professional and you're genuinely interested in the person that you met.
Yeah, that's right. I think one of the key things to remember is to be timely. Ideally, you want to follow up within 24 to 48 hours of meeting someone. This keeps you sort of fresh in their mind and shows that you are a sort of proactive person as well. And apparently, people are more likely to remember and respond to you within 24 or 40 hours. What are some of the methods you find most effective for following up, Tracey?
Well, I think the method can really depend on the context of how you met and what you discussed, really. So a good starting point is always a simple email, and in that email you should reference something that you talked about in conversation to jog their memory and to show that you were actually paying attention to what they were saying. So for example, you might say, "It was great meeting you at the marketing conference yesterday. I really enjoyed our discussion about social media strategies." Or you might just have been talking about your kids, your dog, or, well, even your ingrowing toenail, whatever you spoke about. Just make a reference to it.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, personalising the message makes a big difference. Another method I like to use is basically connecting on LinkedIn. It's a bit more casual than an email, and it keeps that connection alive in a sort of professional context. Plus, it's easy to send a quick message like, "Hi, it was great meeting you at the In Business event yesterday. I'd love to connect," and keep in touch.
LinkedIn's fantastic for that. And don't forget about the power of a handwritten note.
Oh, yeah.
It can seem a bit old-fashioned, but in today's digital world, it does really stand out. And a brief, thoughtful note can leave a lasting impression.
Yeah, make sure you've got plenty of money in the bank, though, for that one, with the cost of postage these days, so don't be sending too many of those out. But it is nice to receive a postcard in the post.
Yeah, I don't suppose you can send one out to everybody you meet, can you? Otherwise you would be bankrupt.
That's true. I totally agree. And let's talk about the content of the follow-up as well. It's important to add value. So maybe share a relevant article or a resource that relates to your conversation. This not only shows that you remember what you talked about, but it also positions you as someone who is knowledgeable and helpful as well.
Absolutely. I mean, and while we're on the topic of adding value, if you promise to send something to them during that initial conversation, make sure you do it in the follow-up, whether it's a link, it's an introduction to someone in your network, or a piece of information. if you deliver on that promise, then that will go a long way to building trust.
Definitely. Because people, if you follow up with something like that, people know you're listening and taking an interest. One thing to avoid, I think, is probably being too generic or vague. A follow-up message that doesn't reference your conversation or lacks a clear purpose can come across as insincere or even spammy. And remember as well, if you don't reference it, they might not remember the conversation in the first place. So it's important to show that you value their time and that you're reaching out for a meaningful reason.
Yeah, and also proofreading your message before you send it, for goodness sake. Typos and grammatical errors can distract from that, polished professional look that you may be trying to create. A well-crafted message reflects positively on you, and it reinforces the impression that you made during that initial meeting.
Yeah, true. And don't forget, and don't forget to keep the lines of communication open as well. Invite them to another event perhaps, or suggest a coffee meeting to discuss potential collaborations or find out more about them. Remember, the goal is to keep the relationship moving forward, not just to sort of touch base once and then disappear.
Yeah, I mean, you could, if you go to that networking event every month, you could say, I'll be there again next month, maybe we can meet up after that.
Or even suggest other events as well where you could meet.
Yeah, true. So following up is definitely about nurturing those connections over time, and it's not a one-off task. It is an ongoing process, and ultimately that is what builds a strong network.
Definitely. So to everyone out there, remember that following up is where you can really differentiate yourself and build lasting relationships. Don't let those initial connections go to waste.
That's right, Ian. And as we always say, the best business comes from the best relationships. So please make sure you follow up and keep those connections alive.
And that is so true as well. I like that saying. It's a good saying, is that one. I do like that saying.
Okay, we're going to dive now into the digital realm, Ian.
Right, okay.
How can people effectively use LinkedIn and other platforms to follow up, and what are the pros and cons of each?
Okay, well, I know we touched upon LinkedIn a few minutes ago, but a good question. Let's start with LinkedIn. It is a powerhouse for follow-ups. One effective strategy, as we mentioned, is to send a connection request with a personalised message that actually references your recent conversation. Like we said, for example, "Hi Bob, it was great meeting you at the In Business event. I enjoyed our chat about golf, although I'm a bit put out about your handicap is lower than mine, and I'm looking forward to connecting." Everybody's handicap is actually lower than mine.
That's not hard to say.
The advantage of LinkedIn is that it's a professional network, so your follow-up feels appropriate and business-focused. However, LinkedIn does limit, which I found out recently, just to 5 personalised connection requests per month, unless you pay for the premium. So unless you got lots of, I don't like to pay for all that. No, so I get to send personalised requests to just 5 people, which is a shame because I think the personalised one is quite good.
Yeah, but you might already be connected on LinkedIn, so it is a good way to follow up.
Yes,
and also you can do little voice notes, can't you, on LinkedIn?
Oh yes, you can.
Do it through your phone.
Good. They're good.
So that's
and you seem to get quite a good response from those as well.
Yeah, we noticed that. Now let's talk about email. Email allows us for more detailed follow-ups and obviously the inclusion of any attachments, which it was great for sharing resources or setting up a more informal meeting. For example, "Hi Jane, it was great meeting you at In Business. I enjoyed our conversation and talking about taking time out and looking after ourselves. And I wanted to share this article with you that we discussed." The downside is that emails can sometimes get a bit lost in a busy inbox and they might feel a bit too formal for some follow-ups.
Yeah.
And if you've got a lot of emails in your inbox like Ian has,
you
definitely get lost.
Definitely get lost in my inbox, yeah. Although I do try to pare it. It's down to only 1,300 now as opposed to 2,500.
It's like a bottomless pit.
I know, I do need to do something about it. So, swiftly moving on, why not try text messages? A quick text can be perfect for a more casual follow-up or to confirm a meeting time. Something like, "Hi John, great meeting you at the In Business. Would you like to grab a coffee next week? What day works for you?" Texts are immediate and personal, but sometimes can be seen as intrusive. So if the person isn't expecting them, or if you don't have an established rapport, then just be careful when you use them. Although I found that text messages, generally people do respond because people are reading the messages all the time. And the only downside is they might be telling you to sod off or something, but at least you've got a response and you know where you stand. But I quite like the immediacy of text messages, and people do read them. And actually, it's probably a good idea when you're talking to them at a meeting. Why not say something like, when I get in touch, which method do you prefer, email, text or LinkedIn? Maybe that would help as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's what they'll respond to,
You're priming
isn't it?
them, aren't you? You're priming them before you do it, yeah.
If it's you, you'll definitely say not email because...
And that way you know the preferred method of communication as well.
Yeah, what about other social media platforms like X or Instagram? I guess these can be quite effective, especially if you're already connected on those platforms. And a quick direct message can keep things just casual and friendly. I suppose the advantage is the casual tone, but the disadvantage is the potential lack of professionalism compared to LinkedIn or email. I suppose it just depends how you view it, really.
Yeah. Good point. And let's not forget the humble phone call. We forget about that these days now.
Yeah, we do.
This is the sort of most direct and personal form of follow-up. You can immediately discuss opportunities or set up meetings. You just need to keep it fairly casual. Something like, "Hi Julie, it's Ian from In Business. I really enjoyed chatting with you and wanted to follow up with some ideas. Do you have a few minutes to talk?" If they're busy, it's an opportunity to either arrange another time for the call or just simply to arrange for a coffee. I mean, I know our phone calls are highly personal and can sort of quickly build rapport. They can also be seen sometimes as being intrusive. We've all had the phone call where you're in the middle of something and the phone rings and you get something on the other end of the line, don't you? So if the timing isn't right, not everyone is comfortable with unexpected calls. So just bear that in mind when we think about making a call.
Yeah, but if someone is busy, then they will just flick it onto voicemail, won't they? And you can either leave them a message or you can call back another time. I mean, each platform's got its own strengths and weaknesses, and LinkedIn's professional but limited to connection request caps. Email is detailed, but it can get lost. Text messages are immediate but can feel a bit intrusive. Social media is casual, but it might lack professionalism, and phone calls are personal but again can be intrusive.
Yeah, that's right. I think the key is to choose a platform that sort of best suits your communication style, I guess, and the nature of your relationship with the person you're following up with. I mean, regardless of the platform, ensure your message is clear, respectful of the time, and offers something of value, whether it's a further discussion on a shared interest or an opportunity to collaborate, perhaps.
Yeah, consistency and sincerity are definitely crucial. And following up isn't a one-time action. It is an ongoing process to nurture those relationships and build trust over time. By staying engaged across various platforms, you're demonstrating your commitment to fostering those meaningful connections, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, technology is just a tool at the end of the day. It's your authenticity and genuine interest in others that ultimately make your follow-ups impactful. Whether it's LinkedIn, email, text, social media or phone calls, I suppose the goal remains the same, to build a network based on mutual respect and shared goals.
Yeah, it is you they want to connect with, not a social media platform. So but you bear that in mind.
It's got to be authentic and genuine,
Yeah. So to all our listeners, embrace the digital tools that are available to you, but always remember that the heart of effective follow-up lies in the sincerity and the value you bring to every interaction.
Yeah, that's important to remember. I suppose in the great scheme of things, if you think about it, following up is actually just the beginning. So Tracey, how do you think people can build and maintain relationships long term? After all, it's sort of the long term relationships that are the most beneficial to you and your business. So what do you think you can do? What are some of the things you can do?
I think consistency is absolutely key here, Ian, and it's not just about making initial connections, but like we said, nurturing them over time. One effective strategy is to schedule regular check-ins with your contacts.
Yeah,
now,
that's good.
This can be monthly or quarterly or whatever frequency suits your relationship, really. And these check-ins help to keep the lines of communication open and demonstrate that your ongoing interest.
Yeah, that's a good point. I suppose another way to maintain relationships is by sharing relevant articles or insights, as we mentioned. If you come across something that aligns with your contact's interests or industry, then sharing it shows that you're thinking of them and adds value to your interactions as well.
Exactly, and celebrating their achievements is another powerful way to strengthen the relationships, whether it's a work milestone, a personal accomplishment, or even a birthday. Acknowledging and congratulating them shows that you're invested in their success and well-being. I know on LinkedIn you get little notifications, don't you, pop up when it's somebody's work anniversary, or you can set it to birthdays, but I don't I don't have it set to birthdays because I was finding I was getting like flooded with it's so and so's birthday today, so and so's birthday today.
Yeah, I mean, when they pop up on my feed, I usually offer a congratulations. If it's somebody's birthday or somebody's work anniversary, it doesn't take a second just to say congratulations or something. I think it's usually appreciated, and at least you have kept in touch. So it's not bad really. It's quite a good way of doing it.
Yeah, it just shows that you're keeping an interest and keeping an eye on them, I suppose.
Yeah. Let's talk about how to effectively record your interactions and follow-up, because that's important. It's all right having these conversations, but how to remember what you've said and to who you've said it. So,
especially if you've got the memory span of a goldfish like you are.
Exactly. What's your name again? So, what are some of the things you think you could do to keep track of your conversations then?
I suppose there's various ways to record these interactions. CRM, I suppose to give it its full title, a customer relationship management system is one way to do it. Now, they might seem a bit over the top really. These systems are designed specifically for managing interactions with current and potential customers, but in our case we can use it for contacts. I suppose the advantage includes that it centralises all your contacts, your notes and interactions. It's all in one place, and this makes it easy to track and follow up, set reminders and analyse your networking efforts maybe over time. Now, many CRMs offer integration with emails and other platforms, so that does enhance the efficiency a little bit. However, the downside can be the cost. Don't know what some of these
CRMs
things
are expensive, aren't they? I think
they can be. Yeah, it's a monthly ongoing fee, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, but you might feel it's worth it if you do a lot of networking. Especially, and the ones that've got more advanced features, they'll certainly be more expensive.
The more features, usually, the more you pay, don't you?
And I think using these things is a bit of a learning curve. If you're not familiar with using a CRM, then it is quite tricky.
Yeah, it can take up some time.
But there's also free things like Trello. I quite like Trello.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, Trello is really good, actually. Yeah, I mean that's quite insightful. Right? I mean, there's always, of course, one of my favourites, the simple spreadsheet you could use, and it saves you money as well. Spreadsheets are a more accessible option for many people. They allow you to create customised lists of contacts and record details like dates of interaction, the things you discussed, and any follow-up actions that you need to do. And spreadsheets are fairly straightforward and can be tailored to your specific needs without the complexity of a CRM system, I think. However, they do lack some of the bells and whistles of the automation and the integration features of CRMs. And managing large databases can become cumbersome over time if you're not careful. If you meet a lot of contacts, it can become a bit wearing if it's not a proper CRM system.
Do you think AI can help?
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm a big fan of AI, so maybe there is something out there you can use that somehow helps you to make a spreadsheet work in a more effective way. In fact, I'm sure there are. And regardless of the method you choose, remember that building and maintaining relationships is a two-way street. It's not just about what you can get from your network, but what about you can contribute as well. So offering help, support or referrals whenever possible strengthens trust and the give and take element as well, the give us gain bit.
There's always good old-fashioned pen and paper.
Oh, I forgot about pen and paper.
If you're that kind of person.
Yeah, of course.
And how about our notably networking books?
I forgot about that as well, yeah. Good call,
to
good call.
keep track of your contacts.
Yeah.
We'll drop a link in to Amazon in the show notes. A strong network is built on mutual trust and support, and that little bit of effort goes a long way into building those relationships. So when you consistently add value to your connections' lives, whether it's through advice, instructions, or simply being a supportive listener, then they're more likely to reciprocate and help you in return.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, to sum it up, I suppose, investing a little effort in recording your interactions and nurturing those relationships over time can yield significant long-term benefits. Whether you choose a CRM tool for its organisational capabilities or prefer the simplicity of a spreadsheet, or even our notably networking book, as Tracey mentioned, the key is to maintain consistency and genuine interest in your network.
Well said, Ian, well said. And remember, your network is a valuable asset and it requires cultivation. Staying proactive and thoughtful in your approach, you'll build those lasting relationships that can open doors to new opportunities and collaborations. Before we bring on our guest, let's give our listeners a quick challenge, Ian. What's one actionable step they can take right now to improve their follow-up game?
Well, as you know, during each of our sessions, we like to throw out a challenge there, something for you to have a go at. And I think this week should be pick one person you met at your last event, last networking event, and why not send them a personalised follow-up message today? Refer to something, if you can, specific from your conversation and include it with a clear call to action as well. It's a small step, but I think it could potentially lead to some big opportunities, so give it a try. Get in touch.
Yeah. So today's guest is Julie Makin, and Julie works for Holden Smith Law. So welcome, Julie, to our little podcast.
Welcome, Julie.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us today. So I suppose we should start by asking, before we get into the questions, what is it that you do, Julie? Tell us a bit about what you do.
So I work for Holden Smith Law. We're a full-service law firm with 5 offices across West Yorkshire. We help our clients to move home, make a will, deal with any family issues, and any minor litigation queries that they might have. My role is primarily business development, including looking after the client relationships that we've already got within the business and looking after all things quality and compliance.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So I bet you kept busy then.
Got a lot of work on.
Cool. Now we know you're a networker, don't we? We know you're a busy networker, so that's obviously why we've got you on with us today.
Yeah.
So do you want to sort of fire away with that?
Yeah. In today's episode, we're diving into the crucial step that often makes or breaks a networking experience, and that is following up after the event. So, how do you follow up, Julie, when you've been to a networking event?
So I make sure, first of all, if it's face-to-face, to take a note of people's business cards, ask for a card. If you've met 10 people and it's quite fast-paced, you're not going to remember everybody's name and what they do, or you can be thinking, who was that person? So make sure to get a business card, or if it's an online event, to download the attendee list so that I know who I'm making contact with. I tend to then request to be a connection with those people in LinkedIn, and just drop them a message. But when I do that, I always mention the networking group or event that I've met them in.
Yeah, good idea.
Conscious that some people might have attended 2 in a day sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'll say, hi, Fionn, lovely to meet you today. We are in business online. Happy to have a one-to-one and catch up if you'd like, so that you can and then I start making, I'm a bit of an Excel freak, so I make a lot. So I do make a note of people that I've connected with, who I've requested a one-to-one with. If we've had the one-to-one, how we could work together potentially, what good clients would look like for them, and how they could potentially help us at Holden Smith. I just think sometimes there's nothing worse if you follow up with someone by way of a one-to-one, and you're sort of sitting there thinking, oh crikey, what's your name? It just makes that other person feel a little bit, is this just a tick box exercise rather than actually wanting to get to know me and my business? So I tend to make notes as I go, so that I have got a feel for what somebody does do, and how we could potentially work together going forward.
Yeah, no, sounds like you got it fairly well nailed there with the follow-up, because we suggest to people things like either a CRM system, because there are some good ones out there, and also or Excel, which is even easier, isn't it? Really, if you don't want to spend thousands of pounds, you can.
Well, I'm glad to hear that somebody actually does that, because I don't know if people do. I don't know. I mean, we have all our contacts on spreadsheets anyway, but I think it's a little bit different for people who are actually going networking. And meeting those people, isn't it? I think you've got to have some sort of record of it, haven't you? Otherwise, you'd never remember that you meet so many people, don't you? I
do take my Notably networking book to face-to-face.
Oh, do you? Have you found it useful?
And then just pop that into a spreadsheet, so I keep it, just because you can miss vital things. Because sometimes I'll get back and I'll think, I know in my head what my notes are about that person. Then I'll glance down and think, oh crikey, that estate agent, that'd be really. I'll follow up again in a couple of weeks and see if they've had a chat with them, that kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. So, I mean, you've probably answered this question really, but have you got any suggestions for how to make following up a little bit easier?
I would just say not to be nervous about it. Some people might feel a little bit awkward. I did when I first started networking.
Yeah.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
This person on a Teams spent 5 minutes in a breakout area with them, and I'm sending them a LinkedIn message saying, "Do you want to have a virtual cuppa?"
Yeah.
You think I'm crackers. People don't, do they? People are very networking for a reason.
Exactly. People are going to network, yeah.
Yeah. So I would say not to be apprehensive about it, and probably arranging one-to-ones. Yeah, sometimes people's diaries can mean they don't take place for a month or so afterwards. But I would definitely, I try and do the LinkedIn request and that quick message, nice to meet you, within at least 48 hours of meeting.
Yeah.
Really, otherwise, they're sort of forgetting who you are and whatnot.
Yeah, especially if they've been to another few events in between.
Yeah.
People can easily get confused, can't they?
Yeah.
So what was the sort of then turning point for you? If you can think back, what was the turning point that sort of made you realise that, you know, the power of networking, if you like? Was there a light bulb moment, or how did you sort of get into it?
I think, because I think when you first start going to networking events and you meet somebody and they're lovely to chat to, but you think, there's never, ever going to be any crossover with what I do and what you do. And then 10 weeks down the line, they might contact you and say, actually, Julie, I know somebody who's moving house. I've recommended you. They're going to get in touch with you. So I think for me, and that did happen, something very similar happened. And I was like, oh, crap, yeah. And I think probably don't write anybody off that you meet in a networking session. Just because you think on the face of it, our industries are completely different. Actually, it's probably a lot smaller than you think when you go into people's wider networks. So, don't write it. I think would be my light bulb moment.
Yeah, it's a good one, that one, isn't it? Yeah. I think for me, when I think back over the years ago, I started off networking. I'd never done it before, and it was I'm going to say BNI, one of the biggest ones in the world. So I might as well say I was in it, BNI, and it's like the penny drops. It was not about the people in the room, but it was about the people who they know more than anything else that are in the room. That's who you're trying to get to, isn't it? Not just those that sit there around the tables. It's the people that they know that you're trying to find out about and get in touch with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you had to really boil it down, then take it to its lowest common denominator, why is it that you network, Julie? What is the reason for you networking?
To enhance our brand's reputation is probably the first and foremost, to get the Holden Smith name out there. Even if sort of, you never get referrals straight away, but just getting that name and that brand awareness out there, then you can do sort of the promotional stuff on LinkedIn and other social media to just, Holden Smith have been out and about, or they've done this, or they've done that. And second, probably to ultimately increase our client base. From direct referrals, which are more profitable for law firms. I would say the brand awareness is probably the first and foremost, just to get people to understand what we are.
Get your name out there, really.
That's good. Cool. We've had some really good insights there from Julie. So thank you very much for joining us today, Julie.
Thank you
for your time.
See you soon at one of our meetings.
Yeah, you too. See you soon.
All the best. Take care
for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you're feeling empowered and ready to turn your new contacts into valuable relationships. Remember, the follow-up is your chance to shine. And what do we say, Tracey?
The best business comes from the best relationships.
Correct.
Next time, as we dive into avoiding common networking pitfalls, how to navigate challenges, stay genuine and make the most of every interaction. Until then, keep networking and building those relationships.
And if you wanted to know more about networking, then why not check out our downloadable networking know-how course, a hand little course, whether you're new to networking or simply looking to improve your skills. Our expert guidance will take you through the process and provide you with practical tips and techniques to help you make meaningful connections.
And by the end of the course, you'll feel comfortable and confident reaching out to others, making small talk and creating valuable relationships. You'll learn how to network like a pro, and you'll leave the course with a whole new level of confidence, ready to build your professional network and reach your goals.
It's broken down into 8 easily digestible sections in which you'll learn the benefits of networking, you'll know why you're networking, how to set goals and objectives, how to introduce yourself, how to start and end a conversation, following up, plus some surprises too.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
So details will be in the show notes.
For those of you who are tuning in, don't forget to subscribe to In Business Talks 2 Networking Nuggets. Leave us a review and share this podcast with your friends.
Yeah.
We love hearing your thoughts and experiences.
Yeah, and remember, if you've enjoyed it, please tell everyone, and if you haven't, don't tell anyone. We'd really appreciate it. Keep networking and building those relationships, and remember, together
we are in business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.